This is exactly how we knew that $30,000 was the bottom for Bitcoin. And similarly, this is how we knew that 60,000 was the new local bottom. Guys, welcome back to Empire Trading Academy. Hit that like, hit the subscribe if you have not already, guys, and let's get right into this. So we've talked about what I'm about to talk about before, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth on it because it happened again, and just a simple way that we can go ahead and trade this. So one thing that is present in Bitcoin all the time is this Wyckoff accumulation and Wyckoff distribution models. Okay, so Richard Wyckoff, he comes up with these models based on just human psychology as well as big players influencing markets. And and these things are happening all the time in Bitcoin, okay? And like I said at the start of the show, this is one of the main models and the main patterns and the main things that we were looking at in order to determine the $30,000 bottom for Bitcoin. Okay, we used on-chain data to really confirm that thesis, as well as Elliott Wave models. But this was a huge occurrence. Okay, so let's go back to that. Okay, we'll go to the 1 hour just so we can kind of see it broken down. Okay. This was at 30,000, right? Okay, and I want to show you, go ahead and show this, okay? This is his accumulation schematic, okay? This is one of them. He has two, okay? But this is the one that always shows up on Bitcoin, all right? So very simply, guys, what I'm gonna show here is just this pattern that plays out. Okay, and it's a very easy way to trade and find the absolute bottom, and get very nice impulse moves, basically from your long position immediately. Okay, so this is the pattern that we're looking for, and this is what I noticed primarily because he has a distribution which is the top. Okay, this is his distribution model, and this is basically when we get overextended and we go ahead and have a sell-off. So this happened, we've talked about this before, this happened at the top at 64,000 originally. Okay, so we were able to see that, hey, this is the top of Bitcoin, we're going to have a sell-off. That's what happened. Okay, we had the distribution, we had the markdown or the sell-off, and that went right into accumulation. Okay, this is a very manipulatable market, relatively new. It's very volatile. Now that big players are getting involved, they're going to sway the markets. And so these Wyckoff models that Richard Wyckoff came up with more than 100 years ago are playing out extremely close to the models themselves. This happens in equities. This happens on stocks all the time. But I would never say that they are as close to the models as crypto and specifically Bitcoin. All right, so let's just take a look at this. This is our schematic, right? Okay, to break this down pretty simply, we just did a TikTok on this and kind of gave a quick overview, but we're going to have this markdown. Okay, we had the distribution at the top, we had our markdown here, and the markdown comes into this accumulation phase. Okay, just like over here. We have our markdown, okay, and we hit our selling climax, okay? That's basically where our support is. We hit this selling climax, okay? Our AR, that's our automatic rally, and we go ahead and basically a lot of buying comes off of that significant support. 30,000, very significant support, just from a psychological aspect as well. And we go ahead and we have big buying up, right? So we have that big buying up, okay? Now to keep this very simple, okay, ST, we have our secondary test, we come back down, we have our secondary test. Now, the way that this unfolds right in here, basically throughout phase B, can vary a little bit, okay? So to keep it relatively simple so you can look for these things in an easy and quick manner that you can identify them relatively easily, is that you basically have a few tests of resistance and then a few tests of support. Okay. And once you've established that this accumulation and this we'll call it a range. Okay. That this type of consolidation in a range is happening, I immediately say, hey, this is looking a lot like a accumulation schematic 1 or schematic 2. Okay. And so this is exactly what we have here. We have these tests at resistance up here, and we have these tests at support around here. Okay. And that's exactly what happens. Okay. Now, the next thing that I look for is basically like a drawn out or a longer sell-off. Okay. And that's right here. This is the end of phase B, and this is what we have here. Remember, this was between 40,000 and 30,000 all the way back in June. And we have that long drawn sell-off. And as soon as I see that long drawn sell-off, I immediately am looking for this spring. Okay. And this spring is going to be our last final squeeze to shake out weak hands that you heard it all over the place, guys. Here, everybody was saying 20,000, 16,000, 12,000, right? Throughout this entire time, but especially here, because this is that last squeeze, that last shakeout to shake out any weak hands before we have significant buying. And that's this last portion right here, phase C and then into phase D. Okay. We have tests of support, and then we go ahead and stair step all the way up. We have our consolidation around our resistance, and then we go ahead and then we just go up from there in our markup phase. So we had our mark down, and now we have our mark up on the other end. Okay, so this is one of the main ways that we were able to determine that 30,000. And when I say 30,000, obviously this area, that 30,000 was the bottom for Bitcoin. Okay. And I was extremely confident that this was the absolute bottom of this sell-off before we continue the bull run, also because of on-chain data. Okay. So now let's fast forward to today. Okay. I want to go on a smaller time frame, go on to 15. Okay. And look at what happened again. Okay. We had the exact on a smaller scale. Okay, because remember, we're back in this bull run 100%. Okay, but once again, we have this extremely similar looking pattern. Wyckoff schematic 1 accumulation. We have our sell off or our mark down. We have our selling climax, automatic rally back up. We have a couple of tests of resistance, couple of tests of support, and then a long drawn out sell off right back down to support. And what do we get right here? We have that squeeze again, shaking out weak hands before we go ahead and stair step up higher, right? Just like our schematic. Okay, and still we're still pushing higher and higher. And this again, on TikTok a few different times, I had said that I believe that 60,000 was the bottom, and that we were not going to see further. That was our local bottom, and that's exactly what happened, guys. So look for these to continue to present themselves. You know, we think that crypto is getting more popular, and it is, but in terms of an adoption curve, you know, we are still super early. And it sounds cliche at this point, but we are super early, guys. And the manipulation that happens, and I don't want to call it manipulation. It's just it's big players throwing their weight around much more easily than in, say, a commodities market or an equities market, because this is so volatile. There's less liquidity. There is it's newer, right? And so they're able to dictate markets a little bit more. And so if we're aware of these things and these patterns and these movements, right, we can go ahead and we can take advantage of exactly what the big players are using. Okay, so this is a very good, so anytime it's going to be tough, okay, to hit the buy and to go long here underneath our support. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to pay off huge. Okay, and make sure you can. We're talking about shorter term trades. Okay, Could be longer term trades when we were talking about 30,000, but hit your buy and then go ahead and you can set a stop loss, or if you're watching it, because these are happening relatively quickly, now that we're in the bull run, when we have confirmed that we are going down, then go ahead and close out and cut your losses quickly. Okay, but again, if you see this forming, and we have a squeeze underneath support, you already know that this is planned in, right? And so you have to take the risk in order to play and in order to get the big gains. And this is a very nice trade and a very smart trade, guys. So look for these things. I'll do another video on distribution because that's at the top, and that's going to be very significant as well, guys. But go ahead, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and hit the like for us if you would. Hit the subscribe to keep up up to date for all things Bitcoin, crypto, both technical analysis and on chain. And we'll see you in the next video.